In the deserts of North Africa, two military legends seemed to be moving toward the same battlefield. One was Erwin Rommel, the German commander known as the Desert Fox. His name had already become famous across Europe and Africa. The other was George S. Patton, an American general with a hard voice, a sharp temper, and a belief that speed could decide a war. But this story is not a simple Hollywood duel. Patton and Rommel did not meet face to face. They did not stand across a table, staring each other down. Yet in 1943, in Tunisia, Patton stepped into a battle shaped by Rommel's earlier victories, and what happened next helped turn him into one of America's most famous generals. This was the moment when Patton stopped being just another commander. This was the moment his name began to carry fear, confidence, and controversy. But the strange truth is this: Patton's rise in North Africa began not with victory, but with embarrassment. Before Patton took command, American forces had suffered a painful defeat at Kasserine Pass in February 1943. The battle exposed serious problems in American training, leadership, communication, and battlefield experience. For many German officers, the Americans looked inexperienced. For many American soldiers, the lesson was harsh and personal. Then Patton arrived. And within weeks, the same American force that had been shaken in the desert would be fighting again. This time with new discipline, new confidence, and a commander who refused to let defeat define them. To understand why this story mattered, we have to go back to North Africa. By 1942 and 1943, the Desert War had become one of the most important fronts of World War II. Control of North Africa meant control of supply routes, Mediterranean access, and pressure on southern Europe. Rommel had already built his reputation there. He was known for fast movement, bold attacks, and the use of armor in ways that confused and pressured his enemies. The U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum notes that Rommel launched an offensive in North Africa in March 1941 and pushed toward the Egyptian border by April. To the Allies, Rommel was dangerous because he seemed to move before his enemies were ready. To German soldiers, he was a symbol of confidence. To American troops arriving in the campaign, he was almost a legend before they had even faced him. Then came Operation Torch in November 1942, when American and British forces landed in French North Africa. It was a huge step for the United States Army. Many American soldiers were brave, but they were still learning what modern war against Germany truly meant. The desert was unforgiving. The roads were poor. The mountains and passes could trap entire units. And the German army was experienced. When American troops moved into Tunisia, they entered a battlefield where mistakes were punished quickly. At Kasserine Pass, those mistakes became painfully clear. The Germans struck hard. American units struggled under pressure. Command systems broke down. The defeat did not destroy the U.S. Army, but it shocked it. And that shock opened the door for Patton. When George S. Patton was given command of the U.S. II Corps in March 1943, he inherited a force that needed more than new orders. It needed belief. The men had been tested and hurt. Their confidence had been damaged. Their enemies had seen their weaknesses. And inside Allied command, there was a serious question. Could American forces recover quickly enough to matter in Tunisia? Patton's answer was immediate. He believed discipline was not decoration. To him, clean uniforms, salutes, schedules, and strict command habits were not small things. They were signs that an army had control of itself. After taking command of II Corps, Patton introduced strict discipline and major changes, including tighter schedules and stronger military standards, while pushing his men to become effective soldiers. Some soldiers respected him. Some feared him. Some disliked him. But almost everyone understood one thing: Patton had arrived to change the mood. He did not want excuses. He did not want hesitation. He wanted movement. The pressure grew quickly. Patton did not have months to rebuild II Corps. He had days. The Germans and Italians were still fighting hard in Tunisia. The Allied plan was to squeeze Axis forces from different directions, forcing them toward collapse. But the battlefield was complicated. Mountains, roads, supply lines, and enemy armor all shaped the fighting. Patton's forces were ordered into action around Gafsa, Maknassy, and El Guettar. These names were not famous to most Americans at home, but in the desert they mattered. El Guettar became especially important. It was a place where American troops would have to prove that Kasserine had taught them something. And even though Rommel himself was no longer the direct battlefield opponent by the time Patton fought at El Guettar, the shadow of Rommel was everywhere. His methods, his reputation, his earlier success, his Africa Corps. This was the real Patton versus Rommel story. Not a personal duel, but a clash between the American army Patton was rebuilding and the German desert war machine Rommel had helped make famous. Patton moved quickly. He pushed his officers. He demanded better communication. He wanted his troops alert, prepared, and aggressive. The American soldier who had felt uncertain after Kasserine now saw a commander who acted as if defeat was temporary and unacceptable. Patton knew that image mattered. When a commander looks confident, soldiers notice. When a commander moves with purpose, soldiers begin to believe purpose exists. But Patton's real test came at El Guettar. On March 23, 1943, German armor attacked American positions near El Guettar. The battle became one of the first major moments where Patton's reformed II Corps showed that it could stand against experienced Axis forces. The American Battle Monuments Commission states that at El Guettar, the U.S. 1st Infantry Division held off a veteran German Panzer Division, and the 601st Tank Destroyer Battalion was credited with destroying 37 tanks among 52 armored vehicles destroyed. This was not an easy fight. It was not clean. It was not perfect. But it was different from Kasserine. American troops held their ground. Tank destroyers fired against German armor. Artillery and infantry worked with greater focus. The Germans attacked with confidence, expecting the Americans to break. But this time, the Americans did not break the same way. For Patton, this mattered deeply. He understood that a battlefield victory was not only about ground. It was also about morale. A unit that has been beaten must learn that it can fight again. El Guettar gave II Corps that lesson. Still, this was not the end of the struggle. El Guettar was not a simple, complete victory where everything suddenly changed overnight. The wider battle continued for days, and the results were complicated. The fighting around El Guettar lasted from March 23 to early April 1943, during the larger Tunisia campaign. American forces had shown strength, but they also suffered losses. German and Italian forces remained dangerous. The desert still punished mistakes. And Patton still had critics. His style was intense. His discipline could be harsh. His personality could create loyalty and anger at the same time. But war often turns on perception. Before Patton, II Corps had been associated with defeat at Kasserine. After Patton, II Corps was associated with recovery. That change did not happen because of one man alone. It happened because soldiers fought, officers adapted, and hard lessons were finally applied. But Patton became the face of that transformation. The turning point was not only tactical, it was psychological. At Kasserine, the Germans had seen American weakness. At El Guettar, they saw American resistance. That difference mattered. The American army was learning fast. It was becoming more coordinated. It was gaining battlefield experience. And Patton's aggressive leadership gave that learning process a sharp edge. The National World War II Museum notes that in March 1943, Allied command adjusted II Corps' mission, and Patton issued orders for attacks around Maknassy and El Guettar. This was where Patton's reputation began to grow. He was not yet the legendary commander of the Third Army racing across France. He was not yet the general many Germans would later study with concern. But the foundation was being built. In Tunisia, Patton showed that he could take a shaken force and make it dangerous again. That is why this battle made him famous. Not because he personally defeated Rommel in a dramatic duel, but because he helped restore American confidence against the kind of German warfare Rommel represented. The climax of this story is not one single explosion or one single order. It is the moment when the American army stopped looking like a force that could be easily pushed aside. At El Guettar, German armor came forward expecting advantage, but American soldiers stood their ground. The tank destroyer crews paid a heavy price. Infantry held under pressure. Commanders adjusted. And Patton watched as his men proved something the enemy had doubted. They could fight. They could recover. They could learn. The battle did not erase Kasserine. Nothing could. But it changed what Kasserine meant. Instead of being the final proof of American weakness, Kasserine became the painful lesson before American improvement. For Patton, that was powerful. He had entered Tunisia after disaster. He left it with a growing reputation. And from that point forward, his name would become connected with speed, pressure, and attack. By May 1943, Axis forces in North Africa surrendered, ending the campaign in Tunisia. The broader Allied success opened the way for future operations in the Mediterranean, including the invasion of Sicily. Patton's role in North Africa helped prepare him for larger commands. His next campaigns would make him even more famous. But the desert was where the transformation began. Before Tunisia, Patton was known. After Tunisia, he was watched. By allies, by enemies, and by history. The real story of Patton versus Rommel is not a movie-style duel. It is the story of two reputations crossing on the same battlefield. Rommel represented the German desert war machine at its most feared. Patton represented an American army learning how to fight back. One had already become a legend. The other was becoming one. And in the desert of Tunisia, after defeat, pressure, and doubt, George S. Patton found the moment that helped make his name. History is often remembered through famous names. But behind every famous name are soldiers, mistakes, lessons, and moments that changed everything. If you want more real World War II stories told in a documentary style, subscribe to the channel. And tell us in the comments, was Patton's greatest strength his strategy, his discipline, or his ability to rebuild confidence after defeat?